Angels, what's to come here? Shohei Ohtani being a Dodger, how are they going to replace them? What are the upcoming transactions that need to be made in the 2024 season? Find out in the next edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. I am the host, Alex Naveja, where if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. If you guys are liking what we're posting up on social media, especially with the interview under the lights, with all of the MLB transactions that have been going on, please give our social media handles a follow. We'll put it down in the description below on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and on X. Trying to get some interviews out there for the Classic at Damien going on at this very moment. Been a little tough with the producing and with the broadcasting side of things, but I will do my best to get you guys an interview there. Also, while you guys are down there, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, give the video a thumbs up, and also comment down below what episodes you guys want to see. What moves do you want to see the Angels make here in this one? Because there's still plenty of off-season left, although spring training is already coming up in February. And speaking of Angels, I just feel like you cannot talk Angels baseball without mentioning Jared Timms with Talkinhalos. Jared, what's going on, my guy? I hope you had a great Christmas. Safe travels coming back here in Southern California. But what's going on, man? You enjoying this nice winter warm weather?
This is fantastic weather, especially from where I'm from. So yeah, no, the SoCal weather's nice, 60 degrees out. I'm hoping the hot stove gets a little bit hotter here for the Angels soon. But yeah, no, great Christmas, hitting up New Year's here pretty soon. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, us Californians, when it's 60 degrees outside, that's cold for us. We have to go outside with the big old jackets, and us, that's winter season for us. But then you still have those weird days where it's 70 degrees in December and January. But you know how us Angelinos, us Californians are. But let's address the elephant that's in the room right here, Jared, and a little bit about the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes and how did that go down at the Big A? I mean, the last time you jumped on the show, we were talking about, hey, the Angels should trade Shohei Ohtani, and I know there was word that Artie Moreno wanted to keep Shohei in Angel Red, but what happened? Just, I'm a little confused. I thought maybe there was going to be a chance of him staying in Anaheim.
I think there was a pretty good chance of him staying in Anaheim this entire time. I mean, when you look at it from a percentage standpoint, I mean, you break it down, everybody had a fairly decent chance of getting Shohei Ohtani. I don't think at the end of the day it came down to money. But I think that the Angels, I'm gonna upset some Dodger fans here that listen to this, made a smarter move in not paying him that amount of money. That's a lot of money, by the way. I mean, everybody was hearing, 4 or 5, maybe 6. But when that $700 million got signed and it came out, I think I almost dropped my phone. I was in the store and I was like, whoa! And then the phone started ringing and it was, all hell broke loose from then. But yeah, the Angels were in it until the end. They really were. As to be expected, this is a very Angels move, a very Angels thing to be like, hey, like we were in it until the very end. You look at past big free agents that they haven't signed. One that comes to mind, as always, like Garrett Cole, was a big one that came to mind. Like the Angels were in it until the end during that winter meetings. The same thing, the night after with Steven Strasburg. It's like, oh, the Angels are in this. Like they're talking to some guys. Strasburg, there was a deeper feeling that he was going back to Washington. Then Garrett Cole going to New York, and there were a bunch of other teams in that. And then the Anthony Rendon signing the night after that. It's like, oh, the Angels are in this. Like they're in it till the end. Now how in it the Angels were for Shohei Ohtani is a very interesting question. I believe they were in it up to at least $600 million. I think they were very competitive. I just don't think they they wanted to be in it at that $700 million mark. I think the Dodgers showed like, hey, we're going to flex our big, we're going to flex the guns, we're going to flex the muscles here and really show the league what we're made of. It's a very interesting contract. I don't think anybody saw that coming. First off, $700 million, and second off, deferring what's almost over 90, was it 96% of it to the following 10 years. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
again, I think the Angels were in it until the end of it. I really do. I don't think they wanted to really go above that 600. I don't think they really wanted to go above 600, 650. But I don't think we'll ever truly know where Artie Moreno was. This is obviously a business move at the end of the day. It's not a baseball move as much. As good as Shohei Ohtani is, there's nobody worth $70 million a year, not even Shohei Ohtani. From a baseball perspective, from a business perspective, the Dodgers are going to do fantastic stuff. It's going to be crazy.
And you talked about the Angels as being in all of these big names. Every offseason they're in, you can hear about it. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about being a part of the Blake Zilla type of sweepstakes and all of that, and how they're trying to really establish that starting rotation again. But let's say he does stay in Anaheim. Do you think he still goes through with the deferral and say, hey, you know what, Angels, let's be all in. Let's go sign some free agents. Let's try to go for Yamamoto and let's try to like completely change up this team? Or do you think it would have just been, hey, I'll take the 600 million, pay me the annual amount?
Yeah, I don't think this is where things get different for me in my thinking of this. And I think that this was on the table for the Angels because it was on the table for the Giants. The Giants matched it, right? What the Dodgers did. So I definitely think this was on the table for the Angels to defer a lot of money. My number one question would be, if you really wanted to do this, why didn't you do this 3 years ago with Shohei Ohtani, 2 years ago with Shohei Ohtani, and defer all that money and start spending? Um, I've said this before in the past. This is not something that the Angels have ever done. Like the Angels spend money. Artie Moreno spends money. Like that's a common misperception that he doesn't spend money because Artie goes and spends money. He doesn't go and overdo it like the Dodgers are doing, right? Like the Angels have never gone and been like, okay, we are going all in. If the Angels wanted to show Shohei Ohtani that they were truly wanting to win, they could have done it the past 2 years and gone all in, signed those big names, the Corey Seager, the Marcus Simeon, those type of guys, spent billions of dollars on those guys to go show Shohei Ohtani, like, hey, we are truly, truly in on winning. So that's where I think things change between, the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Giants. I think those were the last three teams in it. Was really showing him that they wanted to win. I don't think the Angels really want to win that much compared to what the Dodgers do and compared to what the Giants want to do. So yeah, it's oh man, that was crazy. That that whole sequence, the whole winter meetings. I mean, it was just like on your phone constantly refreshing. All right, when Shohei signing, when Shohei signing. So yeah, it's crazy.
And you almost thought that morning when the news had just broken and how he just posted the LA logo on his Instagram, you just kind of thought like, whoa, like, is this actually happening? And for me, I didn't think he was actually going to sign when he said, hey, I'm going to make a decision this weekend. I didn't really think he was, because the last couple of off seasons, the big time blockbuster signing free agents, they don't sign until February. They don't sign until maybe already when spring training has started. So the fact that Otani was, hey, I'm making a decision this day, didn't say when, or I'm making it this weekend, or just being specific as far as him making a decision, I think that was a pretty shock. And I think it came in a time where it was absolutely unexpected. Like, just to hit us in the morning, a Saturday morning, I think that was just absolutely shocking, where the whole entire sports world just kind of was still. Everyone's having the same reactions. Whoa. Everyone said, whoa, wow, are you serious? And just, I think a lot of people were shocked about the deal and how much it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, for me, I don't think there's anybody baseball wise worth that money. Not Mike Trout, not Shohei Ohtani, not Juan Soto, Albert Pujols back in the day, any of those guys, Babe Ruth. But from a business perspective, absolutely, the Dodgers are going to do fantastically. The Dodgers own Japan now. They like as weird as that sounds, they really do. You know, you get a guy like Yamamoto. You have a young starting pitcher in Japan now by Roki Sasaki as well, who is arguably the best pitching prospect in all of baseball, not just, the United States or anything like that. So when he comes over, that's gonna be unbelievable. And you have to imagine now that the Dodgers are the favorite to get the best international pitching prospect in all of baseball too. So yeah, I mean, crazy day in particular. And I mean, good for Shohei Ohtani, man. Like that's a lot of money.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're talking about a lot of money, and we talk about the Angels having a lot of money. What do you think is going to be the next moves moving forward to try to maybe not necessarily replace Shohei Ohtani, but I'm going to make a Moneyball reference. How do you replace Shohei Ohtani in the aggregate? If you're catching my drift there, what you got to sign a couple of players to maybe replace that designated hitter presence, or what's going on now over there in the Big A?
Yeah, what do the Angels have to replace 300 average, 40 home runs, 150 innings pitched?
Yeah,
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 so they have all that. They have all that to replace, which seems like a lot of fun. You look around the diamond, and the Angels actually have an decently interesting young core. You look behind the dish, Logan O'Hoppe, first base, Nolan Shanwell, second base. There's not anybody really young there. You build around shortstop, the youngster Zach Neto. At third, if you can keep him healthy, is Anthony Rendon. You're not getting rid of that contract, so you got to include him in the mix. Mike Trout's out in the outfield. Taylor Ward, if you include him in that young core. Joe Adell, Mickey Moniak. On the pitching side of stuff, you get a guy like Patrick Sandoval, Reed Detmers. And in the bullpen, Sam Bachman, Ben Joyce. Like you have an interesting young core of guys to start building around. Um, so there's different thoughts on what the Angels should do. I mean, I was just reading a report that the Angels are very much so in on Jordan Montgomery. You talk about like a Blake Snell guy. You talk about they've been linked to Cody Bellinger. They've been linked to all these big names, big guys. And it definitely doesn't surprise me. Now, what I would do and what the Angels are probably going to do is going to be different, right? Like you, I just gave you a core group of guys, and do you think the Angels are going to compete in 2024? It's tough to think that, right? With a team that the Angels are going to probably roll out there, it's tough to think that the World Series winners are coming out of the West, and this Astros are still there. The Mariners are a 90 plus win team, um, and and the A's are getting better too. I know that they were the worst team in baseball, but even the A's are getting better. They're a young core. The Angels are still better than them, but that's four teams that are, or that's three teams that the Angels are not as good as in the AL West alone. Plus, you look at the Central, who are they not as good as? Who in the East? I mean, if the Angels are playing in the East, are they the worst team in the East? Possibly, probably. So the Angels have to jump a lot of teams with where they are right now. I don't believe the window is open for the Angels to win. I think that, I mean, if you want to go get a big name piece like Cody Bellinger, who the window opens maybe 2025, 2026 to start competing, and you continue to build around those guys, then absolutely, I think that's a good move. I think the way the Angels have done it in the past, they're going to go sign some names to try to compete this year, whether it's a Jordan Montgomery, a Blake Snell, Cody Bellinger, who I just mentioned, add to the bullpen. You need another infielder. You probably need another outfielder. You probably need some bullpen help. You probably need another starting pitcher or two to get a little bit deeper there if you think you're going to compete. So there's a lot of missing pieces on this team right now. It could be a very fun year next year too, because the Angels aren't, for the first time in 6 years, the Angels aren't pitching to a six-man rotation either. They're pitching to a normal rotation. So um, that also comes to the point of, nobody's been used to pitching in a five-man rotation. Patrick Sandoval, Reed Detmers, Griffin Canning, those guys have, been bred in the Angels organization to pitch in a six-man rotation. So, yeah, the Angels just need to get deeper in a lot of spots, and I would love to see them go get a guy like, I don't know, Cody Bellinger, or a young controllable arm. Maybe trade a Patrick Sandoval if you don't think he's in the mix, and maybe get a second baseman. I mentioned, recently a trade to the Reds for Matt McLain, who can play second base, and then your infield's looking pretty set. So yeah, the Angels are in a very interesting spot. They have a chance to maybe not be good in 2024, but you have a chance to start competing in 2025, 2026, 2027, when that young core, becomes, pretty solid all the way around. So yeah, I don't know. There are two different thoughts. What I want the Angels to do and what the Angels are really going to do, I think, are two different things.
So then that comes the next question. What do you think the Angels are going to do?
Um, I think they're going to go try to compete this next year. I really do. I think they're going to go try and spend, they have probably about 70, $80 million until they hit that luxury tax. So, you look at a guy, probably they've been linked to Blake Snell. It wouldn't surprise me if they were in on him until the end. Jordan Montgomery, another lefty. If you want to add another lefty to the mix, well, Snell's a lefty too. Um, I'd love to see the Angels get a big left-handed bat and Cody Bellinger, put him behind Mike Trout, because at the moment you don't have anybody hitting behind Mike Trout. And when that happens, Mike Trout, is a 400 on base guy who gets walked a lot and hits a lot of solo home runs, um, which is fantastic. But I'd love to see him, have 130 RBIs this year with guys on base because he's getting pitches to hit. So yeah, I think that this year, this offseason, they're going to go get at least another starting pitcher or two, and I think they're going to at least go get another bullpen piece or two, and they're going to have to get another bat too. A guy like, I think, Teoscar Hernandez is still out there. Jorge Soler makes a lot of sense. Reese Hoskins makes some sense there too. A big bat to put behind Mike Trout. You're going to have to do that.
I actually like a lot of those names to be playing here in the Big A. I mean, Cody Bellinger, I mean, he's already familiar with Southern California. Just to switch from the NL to the AL, I think that'd be pretty nice to be here in Southern California. Dodger fans could still admire him, but just oddly wearing the color red. He's worn blue his whole entire MLB career. But to be able to get, if you could pull off both Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell, the Angels, they have the money freed up to spend. And Angels every year, they're looking to compete. They're not looking to be like, oh, we're going to be developing this year. We're going to be trying to rebuild this year.
Yep.
Every year, they're trying to put the Moneyball team together, not the
Mhm.
like the movie, but the right team to compete every year. And
Yep.
you and I both know this AL West is no slouch anymore. It's popping now. It's every team is in and out, other than maybe Oakland. They will get better. Don't see them keeping up with the Rangers, the Astros, the Mariners, or even the Angels going
Mm.
into this year. But
Y-
as far as go for it.
I was gonna say, you bring up an interesting point with former Dodgers. It's very Artie Moreno like to steal some Dodgers, right? So
Yeah,
you look at a Cody Bellinger, right? That's a former Dodger. Kike Hernandez is a former Dodger.
that's an
Trevor
option.
Bauer is a former Dodger. You start looking at former Dodgers to try to pull that fan base back over, because those are very business moves by the
Yeah,
Angels there, So
yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if you started seeing some former Dodgers become Angels, and I wouldn't be upset with a lot of those names. Like, I love Kike Hernandez. That's a lot of fun. That's a guy who can play all over the diamond. Cody Bellinger is one of the best bats in baseball when he's right, and I mean, Trevor Bauer, if he's not a clubhouse nuisance, is one of the best pitchers in baseball. But we don't need to get on the Trevor Bauer talk. I think it is what it is with Trevor Bauer. So.
I think the Cody Bellinger in the lineup would be nice too, because I just feel like the differences in counties from LA, LA fan bases put a lot of pressure on their teams, whether that's the Lakers, the Dodgers, the Kings, you name it, any LA franchise, they will put a lot of pressure on those. But then when you switch over to Orange County, I just feel like you don't have as much pressure. I feel like the fan base is a lot more relaxed. They're not as much as, hey, you need to produce, you need to do this, you need to do that. I feel like if Cody Bellinger steps away from that spotlight from LA and goes to a city like Anaheim, is in that lineup, the same one as Mike Trout, I think that's going to relieve some pressure off of him. You put maybe Cody Bellinger hitting cleanup, I don't feel like he's going to have as much pressure. Hey, I have Mike Trout already hitting third in the lineup, or maybe even second. You put Bellinger third. I think that'd be a nice little signing for the Angels. You get a guy like that, you get yourself some outfield depth and all. And I kind of like the Angels outfield when they're healthy, because that was going to be my next question. I just feel like the Angels are always getting bit by the injury bug every year. Rendon, there's something up with him. There's something up with Mike Trout. There's something up with almost everybody in the Angels. And you just start to think, man, if we can have a healthy 162 game season, I think you'd be in a different situation. Like, I think you'd be in a wild card spot, maybe like that last wild card spot. And maybe, like, I'm probably being crazy right now. Maybe you'd be in that mix with when it was the three teams duking it out. And you know what I'm talking about.
I do, yeah. And I think also on that point of, taking a lot of stress off the Angels in general is getting, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, but it's been brought up a lot, but getting a guy like Shohei Ohtani out of the clubhouse so you're not trying to win for Shohei Ohtani. Like the past couple seasons it was win to keep Shohei Ohtani, and now it's just go out and play baseball, it
Let's
feels
play.
like. And yeah, just go play and let's see where it takes us, and same thing goes with being healthy. I would have loved to seen this team be healthy the past couple years and see like where the actual holes are. Like it can you win with Shohei Ohtani in a six-man rotation? Really, like I want to know that because the Angels really never really had any opportunity to go win with Shohei Ohtani in a six-man rotation. I could totally be wrong about a six-man rotation. A six-man rotation might be the next big thing in baseball where everybody's throwing 140, 150 innings a year and pitching every 6 day. But yeah, getting that stress, getting the pressure of, that media, an entire nation watching you play, is going to be interesting. And I'm intrigued to know how the Dodgers handle this. I know it's a big media market, and Shohei Ohtani included. The Angels really, I don't want sheltered isn't the right word, but they really protected Shohei Ohtani in the media. He didn't talk to the media a whole lot. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But man, I'd love to see Cody Bellinger in an Angels uniform batting behind Mike Trout. That'd be a lot of fun.
I'm just gonna leave it as if the Angels can lock those three veteran presences with the Montgomerys, the Snell, and the Cody Bellinger. I still think the Angels can somewhat, like pitching wise, can fill Shohei Ohtani in the aggregate in that way. Bellinger, he's not going to fill up the whole entire thing for Shohei Ohtani offensively, but I think that just help out tremendously for the Angels if they can be able to sign those, get those contracts going. But I want to finish off the show and just ask you what have been your thoughts on some of the moves that the Angels have been making? I mean, the trade for David Fletcher and Max Stassi, sending them over to Atlanta to get Evan White. And I know there was another, I believe it was a pitcher that was involved with that deal as well. And as far as the bullpen moves, signing both Garcia and Simber.
Yeah, starting with the bullpen moves, it's good to get depth, right? Like how often this happens with the Dodgers as well. How often do guys go down with injuries? How volatile is a bullpen? It feels like it's constantly, rotating there, unless it's a Kenley Jansen in the back of the bullpen, that's locked down. There's not too many of those bullpen guys. So that's one of the toughest positions to really fill on a yearly basis is the bullpen. So when you talk about the Angels bullpen, I think it's going to be, all arm angles. You have a guy like Adam Simber who comes from down, that the low three-quarter sidearm who throws 80 plus miles an hour. And, to back that up, then you bring in a guy like Ben Joyce who's pumping 104 miles an hour. That's two completely different arm slots that you're looking at. So, and then, same thing goes with a lot of the guys they're adding. Angels are very interesting in the bullpen. They could be a very, very good bullpen this next year, if used correctly. That's what's
That's
been
the
the
big
biggest
one.
thing. Yeah, that's what's been the biggest thing. And it doesn't start with being used correctly either. It starts with the rotation. You have to get into the fifth, sixth, seventh inning to make sure that you aren't overusing this bullpen throughout the year too. So if the starters can do their thing, work into the fifth, sixth, seventh inning, night in and night out, I think that the Angels have a real good shot with where the bullpen is and where the rotation is. Now, if the rotation doesn't do what they can do, it's gonna be a long year. We're gonna see, new records set for new players, and we're gonna be talking about these pitchers being brought up from AAA and who are some of these guys. So yeah, the pitching side of stuff goes hand in hand, starting and relieving. But onto the David Fletcher, I guess you want to call it the David Fletcher trade because he's the big name in it. David Fletcher, Max Stassi for Evan White and Tyler Thompson. Yeah, I like it. I like it. You start at the end of every offseason, you start looking around and saying like, hey, what interesting names, can you trade? How can we cut some expenses? And Max Stassi was one of those guys where it's like, well, you have a guy like Matt Thaiss that can play there. You have Logan O'Hoppe that you're hoping can play 120 games there a year. So you're really looking to fill 40 plus games. Matt Thaiss can probably do that for 40 games. And then David Fletcher, he was up and down, was left down in AAA for quite a while, hit well down there, but you have a better offensive piece in Luis Renifo there. Plus, you could probably get a little bit better than David Fletcher and Luis Renifo. You have some decent depth there in the infield for the Angels right now. Brandon Drury can play multiple positions. You just got to stay healthy there. So, and then guys they got back, Evan White plus defender. The bat really isn't there, but you can dream on the bat being decent. I mean, if he's a 230 hitter who's going to hit, for some pop down in AAA in Salt Lake where the ball flies, and then Tyler Thompson, not too much on him. He was actually a Rule 5 pick from the Mets, so that was kind of interesting. The Angels might end up returning him and using that spot for something else there, anyways. But a big salary dump. The Angels, I think a lot. I think they gained what was it, a couple about $7 million in at the luxury tax with the luxury tax hit. So yeah, it's an interesting trade all the way around. I wouldn't be surprised if the Angels tried to move a guy like Tyler Anderson too, to get that contract off the books too. So you never know. We'll see where it goes.
Well, there you have it, guys. 2024 is just around the corner from us. Baseball season, it's going to be here before you even know it. Spring training, pitchers and catchers reporting in February. There'll be spring training games, and it'll be baseball season here before you guys even know it. But that's all the time we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank you all so much for tuning into this one. If you guys like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what your thoughts have been on an Angels offseason, Shohei Ohtani letting him walk and going to the Dodgers, and what do you guys want to see the Angels do? Who do you guys want to see them get? I mean, there's so many free agents still out there now that the dominoes are finally falling, and there's guys that are available. There's guys that are available that will certainly be able to help out the Angels moving forward. And of course, hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so you guys know when we're uploading episodes. And of course, no one better when it comes down to talking about the Angels than Jared Timms with Talkinhalos. Jared, as usual, man, don't be a stranger. Thanks so much for jumping on. Maybe we could go catch an Angels game when you're back here in SoCal and go get to cover the Angels or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Anytime I can come on and talk some Angels baseball, it's always a fun day for me. So thanks for having me, man.
No problem, man. I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. Have a good one, everybody, and enjoy the NBA, NHL, and have a happy new year.